had to realize that I was worth loving, loving, loving. I had to realize that I was worth loving, loving, loving.
Hello, and welcome back to the Worth Loving Podcast. I'm your host, Keana W. Mitchell, and I am so excited that you're here with me today. So whether you're listening on your morning walk, during your commute, or while you're taking a moment to breathe and reconnect with yourself, I want you to know this is a space for you. This podcast is where we talk about honesty, we talk about our emotions and healing, and we talk about these things honestly. We talk about self-worth and boundaries and what it means to build relationships that honor who you are. It's a space where your experiences are valid, your feelings matter, and your healing is always welcome. So today we are going to be talking about a topic that a lot of people struggle with quietly, and that is how to deal with healing after a toxic relationship. So if you've ever left a relationship feeling confused, drained, or unsure of who you are anymore, you are not alone. Toxic relationships can leave you with deep emotional imprints, not just on how you see others, but how you see yourself. And healing from that kind of pain takes time, compassion, and clarity. So this episode isn't about blaming yourself or revisiting old wounds without purpose. It is about understanding what actually happens to you emotionally, psychologically, and physically when you've been in a relationship that wasn't safe. It's about learning how to rebuild self-trust, reconnect with your intuition, and choose relationships that align with your worth, not your wounds. But before we get into today's conversation, I want to share a gentle reminder that our podcast artist, Emery Rose, has a new mini drop coming very, very, very soon, sometime this month. Emery Rose is the musical alter ego that I have, and I use it because I like to write songs, and it helps to bring emotional healing. I like to write songs that are about clarity, things people are actually going through. So this is why I use the songs that I wrote with Emery Rose on the show. So if her music has ever held space for you during your healing journey, keep an eye out because her new release will be available on all streaming platforms shortly. Now, let's take a minute to revisit last week's episode of the podcast because last week's episode actually sets the foundation for everything we'll be talking about today. So last week on the podcast, we talked about what it means to date with confidence after emotional abuse. And that conversation was such an important one. So last week, we talked about emotional manipulation, we talked about gaslighting, chronic invalidation, and how all of this can deeply affect the way that you see yourself, your relationships, and your ability to trust yourself. So as we shared in the show notes last week, healing from emotional manipulation, gaslighting, or chronic invalidation changes the way you see yourself. And that resonated with a lot of people. Last week, we also talked about why dating again can feel overwhelming when you've been hurt. Your nervous system becomes more alert, more cautious, and sometimes even more anxious. We talked about how your intuition may doubt how you may doubt your intuition and that you may have problems trusting yourself, and you may doubt your ability to choose a healthy partner or feel unsure about what emotional safety even looks like. And all of that is normal. Trauma impacts your nervous system, your sense of safety, and your ability to read relational cues. So it's not a personal failure, it's a survival response. In last week's episode, we also explored red flags, but we also talked about green flags, which is one of my favorite flags to talk about. We talked about how to honor your pace without guilt. We talked about the importance of rebuilding self-trust and reconnecting with yourself and your intuition. In the episode last week, I gave some reflection questions like, what does emotional safety feel like in my body? What boundaries do I want to set early? And how can I practice self-trust this week? Those questions weren't just reflective, they were foundational to help you reconnect with yourself, which is essential before you can reconnect with anyone else in a healthy way. So, if you missed last week's episode of the podcast, I strongly encourage you to go back and listen to it because it sets the stage for today's conversation about why healing after a toxic relationship is so challenging and how you can begin to rebuild from the inside out. So if you missed last week's episode of the podcast, I do have a link to that episode in the show notes. So just click on the link and you can listen to last week's episode of the podcast. I want to take a moment to share something that can support you if you're ready to go deeper in your healing journey. My 12-week trauma-informed coaching program, You Are Worth Loving, is designed specifically for women who are healing from emotional abuse, rebuilding self-trust, and learning how to choose relationships that feel safe, healthy, and aligned. Inside the program, we work together to help you understand your attachment patterns, rebuild your sense of worthiness, learn how to set boundaries without guilt, break free from cycles of emotional unavailability, strengthen your intuition, and create a vision for healthy love. This isn't a surface level program, it's deeply supportive, emotionally safe, where you can heal at your own pace. You'll receive weekly coaching, guided exercises, and tools rooted in research from leading psychiatrists. Their work on attachment, trauma, and self-compassion forms the foundation of the program. Some of the psychologists we will be using their research on is Dr. Sue Johnson, Dr. Bessel van der Kelp, and Dr. Kirsten Neff. Their work is amazing, and I've used a lot of it in the podcast, so this is what we use to build our program and to make sure that people who are in the program get the help that they need. If you've been listening to this podcast and thinking, I know what I need to do, but I don't know how to actually do it, then this program is for you. You don't have to navigate healing alone. You don't have to guess your way through dating or relationships. You deserve support, clarity, and a roadmap. So, if you're interested in joining the next class, stay tuned. Enrollment opens soon, and I would love to walk alongside you on this journey. Now, let's get back into today's episode. Healing after a toxic relationship is one of the most challenging emotional journeys a person can go through. It's not just about getting over someone. It's about recovering from the emotional, psychological, and sometimes physical impact of being in a relationship that wasn't safe. Toxic relationships often involve manipulation, inconsistencies, emotional withdrawal, or control, and those dynamics can leave deep wounds that deeply affect us, and they don't simply disappear or go away once that relationship ends. One of the biggest reasons healing feels so difficult is because toxic relationships often create what we call trauma bonds, which are intense emotional attachments formed through cycles of affection and pain. These bonds can make you feel connected with someone even when you know they're just not good for you. They can make you miss the highs of the relationship while you forget the lows, and they can make you question your decision to leave even when leaving was the healthiest choice. Another challenge is the emotional confusion that follows. Toxic partners often distort your sense of reality. They make you doubt your perception, your feelings, and your worth. So you might find yourself replaying conversations wondering if you overreacted, or you might find yourself blaming yourself for things that were not your fault. This self-doubt can linger longer after the relationship ends. Healing is also difficult because toxic relationships disconnect you from yourself. You may lose touch with your needs, your boundaries, your desires, and your intuition. You may forget what emotional safety feels like. You may feel afraid of repeating the same pattern or unsure of how to trust again. But here's the truth. Healing is possible. It's not linear, and it doesn't happen overnight. But it does happen. And today we're going to talk about what healing actually looks like, step by step, layer by layer. Before you can heal, you do have to understand that you're healing from a toxic relationship. And when you understand what you're healing from, it's easier to know how to move on with the healing process. So, toxic relationships, as I said, they do not just leave you with heartbreak. They leave you with emotional wounds that affect how you see yourself, how you show up in relationships, how you show up for yourself, and how you navigate the world. One of the biggest wounds that people get from toxic relationships is the loss of identity. Toxic partners often chip away at your confidence, your voice, and your self-esteem, your sense of self. You may have spent so much time trying to keep the peace, avoid conflict, or earn love that you lost sight of who you were before the relationship. Another wound is damaged self-trust. So when someone repeatedly dismisses your feelings, twists your words, or make you question your reality, it becomes harder to trust your own intuition. You may second guess yourself constantly, even in situations where your instincts are spot on. Toxic relationships also create hypervigilance. Your nervous system becomes trained to anticipate conflict, withdrawal, or emotional shifts, even after the relationship ends. Your body may stay in a heightened sense of alertness, making it difficult to relax or feel safe. You may also struggle with fear of repeating patterns. So, after being hurt, it's natural to worry that you'll choose the wrong person again or miss red flags you didn't see before. This fear can make dating feel overwhelming or even impossible. And finally, toxic relationships leave you emotionally exhausted. You may feel drained, numb, or disconnected from your emotions. You may feel like you've gained so much of, you've given, not gained, you might feel like you have given so much of yourself away that there's nothing left for you to give. And when you feel that way, it's hard to kind of be the best version of yourself because you're too tired and you're too exhausted. It's hard to even show up for yourself, let alone anyone else. So understanding these wounds isn't about dwelling on the past. It's about naming what needs healing so you can move forward with clarity and compassion. So after a toxic relationship, rebuilding self-trust is one of the most important and most challenging things that you can do. When someone has repeatedly dismissed your feelings, minimized your needs, or made you question your reality, it's natural to lose confidence in your own judgment. But self-trust is the foundation of emotional safety, and without it, it's just difficult to form healthy relationships with others or yourself. Rebuilding self-trust starts with leaning into your body and what you need. It starts with learning to listen to your body again, because your body often knows the truth long before your mind does. So just pay attention to how you feel around different people. Notice when your chest tightens, or when your stomach drops, or when your shoulders relax, or when you're feeling anxious. These physical cues are part of your intuition, and they are absolutely worth listening to. Another part of rebuilding self-trust is honoring your boundaries. Toxic relationships often teach you that your boundaries don't matter, or that setting limits will lead to conflict or abandonment. But boundaries are essential for emotional safety. So start with soft and small boundaries, right? Saying no to things that drain you, taking time for yourself, or expressing your needs without apologizing for it. Self-trust also grows through self-validation. So instead of dismissing your feelings or seeking external approval, practice affirming your own experiences. When something feels off, acknowledge it. When something feels good, honor that too. The more you validate your own emotions, the stronger your internal compass will become. And finally, rebuilding self-trust requires practice. You're not going to wake up one day and suddenly be confident in every decision you make. Self-trust grows slowly through consistent acts of listening to yourself, honoring your needs, and choosing what aligns with your well-being. Remember, as I say all the time, you are not broken. You are rebuilding, and every small step counts. One of the most surprising parts of healing is realizing that healthy love may feel unfamiliar or even uncomfortable. And I know this seems strange because we just think, like in movies or like, what is it, fairy tales, that you're going to find that person, it's going to feel right, you're going to be happy, and you can be like, this is what I've been waiting for my whole life. But that's not the reality of it all, right? So sometimes, as I've said in previous podcasts, healing and being in healthy relationships, healthy love might be unfamiliar, maybe even uncomfortable at first. When you have spent so many years in relationships that are defined by inconsistency, intensity, or emotional chaos, stability can feel strange, right? Calm can feel suspicious. Kindness can feel overwhelming. Even shocking and surprising, right? And consistency can feel boring. But healthy love is not boring. It's safe, it's steady, it's grounded. And relearning what healthy love looks like and feels like is a crucial part of healing. Healthy love is consistent. It doesn't disappear when things get hard. It doesn't punish you with silence. It doesn't make you guess where you stand. Healthy relationships, healthy partners show up emotionally, mentally, and physically in ways that feel reliable. Healthy love is emotionally available. It's not hot and cold. It's not unpredictable. It's not conditional. Healthy partners communicate openly. They take accountability and make space for your feelings without making you feel like a burden. Healthy love is respectful. It honors your boundaries, your needs, and your individuality. It doesn't try to control you, change you dismiss you or diminish you. It supports your growth rather than competing with it. So healthy love is safe, not perfect. It allows you to be yourself without fear of judgment or punishment. It gives you room to breathe, to express, to rest. And healthy love is reciprocal, right? So in this kind of relationship, you're not the only person giving, fixing, or trying. The emotional labor is shared. The other person is also giving, fixing, or trying. I remember some years ago, I even used to say this, like, oh, well, if somebody's working on a relationship, even one person can save it. Even one person can do this, right? I mean, it's true to an extent. One person can start to work on a relationship and save it. But at the end of the day, you need both people. And if you are looking for a healthy love, that is a love where both people are working together, sharing that emotional labor to create and fix and work on that relationship. So relearning love does take time, especially if you've never experienced it before. But the more you reconnect with your worth, the easier it becomes to recognize the kind of love that aligns with it. And remember earlier this year when I said that it's important to create a vision for the love that you want? And I think that was like episode 1 or 2 of the new year. Because if you know what you're looking for, you know the love you want, you know the healthy relationship you're looking for, then it's easier to recognize those things and to know what you're working toward instead of just having some abstract idea of what type of love you would like to have. So that is important. So remember, guys, that it is very important to reconnect with your worth, because once you do that, it will be easier to recognize the kind of love that aligns with it. Now, the song we're going to listen to today is called Your Mama's House, and it is by our podcast artist, Emery Rose. This song is about a woman who is leaving a toxic relationship, and she's learning to love herself and realizing the type of relationship that she wants. So here is the song, Your Mama's House, by our podcast artist, Emery Rose.
Thought I told you that you and I were through. After what you did to me, it's really hard to forgive. I'm tired of crying myself to sleep, wondering what is wrong with me. Every time it's someone else, why can't you be faithful? So I packed up all your things and put them in the car. I took them to your mama's house. Your mama's house. So I packed up all your things and put them in the car. I took them to your mama's house. Your mama's house. You don't want a relationship with me. If you did, you do things differently. I put up with all that I can take. This is why I'm breaking up with you. I'm tired of crying myself to sleep, wondering what is wrong with me. Every time it's someone else, why can't you be faithful? So I packed up all your things and put them in the car. I took them to your mama's house. Your mama's house. So I packed up all your things and put them in the car. I took them to your mama's house. Your mama's house. No need to apologize, I am done with your lies. Don't try to call me, don't try to text me. I've blocked your number, this breakup is for real. So I packed up all your things and put them in the car. I took them to your mama's house. Your mama's house. So I packed up all your things and put them in the car. I took them to your mama's house. Your mama's house. things and put them in the car. I took them to your mama's house. Your mama's house.
So here are some practical steps for healing. Step number 1, slow down before entering new relationships. Step number 2, journal about your patterns, triggers, and needs. Step number 3, practice nervous system regulation. And that can include like breathing, grounding, or movement. And when I talk about grounding, sometimes what I do to ground is like if you feel yourself feeling ungrounded or just out of whack, you can close your eyes and just go 1, 2, 3. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and then you can count forward, you can count backwards, but just taking that pause, even just taking a pause and say, okay, you got this, start over. Just taking that pause is something that you can do to help ground yourself in that moment to start over and regulate that nervous system. The next step we have, I believe that's practice step number 4, would be set boundaries early and honor them. Practical step number 5, surround yourself with supportive people, healthy people, because then you can see and recognize better healthy patterns and what you expect in a relationship, or even how you expect people to treat you. So surround yourself with supportive, healthy, emotionally safe people. And finally, our last practical step for healing is consider trauma-informed coaching or therapy. This can be helpful because some people can't do it alone, some people need help. So if you need help, that's perfectly fine. There are people out there to help you. So consider that. Some reflective questions I want you to ask yourself this week are, what patterns am I afraid of repeating? And you can journal these as well. Or you can just talk them out loud. Whatever you choose to do is fine. Our next reflective question, what does emotional safety look like in my body? What does it feel like in my body? And when we say look like, I'm just talking about like, are you tense? We know like if you feel tense, then that's not emotional safety. If you feel peaceful and calm. So when we say what does it look like, it can also look like you being happy. You're not being as jumpy. You're more relaxed, right? So think about, what does emotional safety feel like in my body and how does it look on my body? Reflective question number 3, what boundaries do I need to honor right now? Reflective question number 4, what version of me chooses toxic partners? What version of me is ready to choose differently? And reflective question number 5, what do I want love to feel like moving forward? Healing is not linear. It's not fast, but it is possible. You're not defined by the relationships that hurt you. And I really want you to remember, you are not defined by your past. There is nothing wrong with you. And it's never too late for you to experience healthy love. You are learning, growing, and becoming someone who chooses differently. If you're ready to go deeper, my 12-week trauma-informed coaching program, You Are Worth Loving, is designed to help you rebuild self-trust, break unhealthy patterns, and choose relationships that feel safe and aligned. If you'd like your questions featured in Thursday's question and answer episode, email me at KeanaWMitchell@gmail.com. You can share anonymously or with your name, whatever feels safest. All right, well, guys, thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Share this episode with someone who needs it, and make sure that you're following the podcast so you never miss an episode. You are worthy, you are healing, and you are worth loving. Until next week, have an amazing day and a wonderful weekend.